I never will forget that day. My flight instructor said, "You're ready, let me out." And that was the day I soloed. I don't know if you're ever really ready for it, but I'm going to talk to you a little bit how I knew I was ready for it, and hopefully you'll be ready for it too. You guys check it out. Hello, fellow aviators. My name's Matt Farrell, and I'm the Flying Salesman. Appreciate you coming along with me and joining me in the cockpit of the 210 today. I've got to run up and see a customer today. Going to be a real quick trip, but I thought on the way up that we might talk a little bit about my first solo. I know I get a lot of you guys are working on the various aspects of your flight training. You let me know about that in the cockpit. And first solos have something that's near and dear to my heart because they're a very special time in our training careers, or our flight careers. And I want to talk a little bit about my first solo, and hopefully there's some tips and little nuggets in there for you guys to glean from that about your first solo. So we're going to get everything squared away in the cockpit. We're going to blast off, and then once we get up into cruise flight, we'll talk about that a little bit. So y'all come along. Downtown Ground Centurion 6048 November, taxiway off with the numbers.
Centurion 6048 November, downtown ground, runway 14, taxi via Golf November. Downtown altimeter 29er, wind 160
All right, 14 via Golf in November, 29er, 48 November.
Centurion 48 November, squawk 0470, departure frequency 119.9.
0470 and 119.9 for 6048 November.
48 November, that's correct. Have you made it out to November yet? Okay.
I'm just peeking up onto November for 48 November on Golf.
Yeah, I see you now, thank you.
All right, I'll continue 48 November. Maybe he was expecting me a little bit sooner and didn't see me, but I was getting there right about the time that he asked. So I went ahead and made it clear that I was going to continue my taxi, just in the event that he was wanting me to stop for another reason. So I didn't assume anything there. I just told him I was continuing, and that way that set up and opened the communication that, hey, I'm going to keep taxiing unless you tell me something different. Okay. Park and brake set, cabin doors, windows. Cabin doors and windows closed and locked. Cowl flaps full open. Light controls free and correct. Fuller tank, both tanks are full. Mixture set. Elevator rudder trim. Got a little bit of right, a little bit of up. And 1700 RPM. There's 1700. Left mag. Good drop. Right mag. Good drop. And cycle that propeller. All right, avionics are set. We're going to set our flight director. Heading 140. We're going to climb 500 feet a minute. Get that flight director set. Transponder set. Departure frequency is set. I can go ahead and change that. Put that on tower. Throttle friction lock set. And wing flaps 10. Downtown tower, Centurion 604 November is ready to go 14.
Centurion 604 November, downtown tower, hold short of runway 14.
Hold short 14 for November.
Centurion 4 November, that Cessna's going around in front of you. Said there's a flock of birds in the area down there.
4 November, roger.
Centurion 4 November, fly runway heading runway 14, clear for takeoff.
Clear for takeoff 14 for November. Come to a police stop. 30 inches of manifold pressure. Let that turbo lag. And red line. And 70 knots will rotate.
Says 29 X-ray, the wind's 1406, runway 14, clear, touch and go.
Rate gears coming up.
Stop at 14, cleared for the landing, 29 X-ray.
Says 29 X-ray, clear to land. Centurion 4 November, turn left heading 320.
Left 320 for 4 November. And flaps coming up. And power's coming back. 30 inches of manifold pressure. 2,500 RPM.
Centurion 4 November, no restrictions on your climb and contact Shreveport departure.
No restrictions on the climb, going to departure for 4 November. Good day. We'll see you in a bit.
Okay.
Turn in left to heading at 320 and switching to departure. Report departure Centurion 604 November is 1,300 off of downtown, climbing, and 320 on the heading.
Centurion 604 November, Shreveport departure, radar contact, resume on navigation to Spring Hill.
Oh, nav to Spring Hill for 48 November, thanks. We're going to go up to 3,500.
Roger.
On course heading to where we're headed is 032. We'll go ahead and get close to that. Back to activate GPS steering. I know many of you are in the middle of your flight training. Some of you are just starting out. And I want to talk to you about your first solo. That's one of the things that you're going to remember for the rest of your pilot career. No matter what you do in life, you're going to look back on that first solo, and it's going to be a major milestone, because it is a major milestone. One of the ways that you know you're going to be ready, or let me put this a different way, one of the ways that I knew I was ready is when I knew that I was ready to be pilot in command of that aircraft. There's a reason why we have that column in our logbook, PIC, because that means you're in charge. So in your flight training, that's what we're attaining. That's what we're training to be able to do, is command that aircraft. That means we don't let the airplane take us where we don't want to go. If the airplane starts doing something we don't want it to do, then it's our job to intervene and command the aircraft to go where we want it to go. Your flight instructors are going to work with you on this day in and day out to make sure that when that time comes for them to step out of the airplane, you're in full command of that airplane. Now, that's not to mean you're going to be ready for every mistake and everything that's going to rise. Basically, what you've done is you've demonstrated your ability to stay close to home in the pattern and drive around the block, just kind of like you did as a kid when you were learning to drive. Your parents didn't let you stray very far from home. Your flight instructor's going to do the same thing. But he's not going to do that until he knows that you can assert yourself and you can command the aircraft. So keep that in your mindset when it comes to your aeronautical decision making, when it comes to your training, when it comes to maintaining altitude, airspeed, and heading. These are all very important factors that your flight instructor is going to look at to make sure that you have the ability to be pilot in command of that airplane for the first time. That brings up another important point. One of the most important decisions that you're going to make in your flying career is when to go around. And you're going to do that your entire career. No two landings are ever the same, and you never know what's going to make you go around. I've had perfect approaches all the way down to almost to the runway and had to go around. You never know. So that's one of the first aeronautical decision-making decisions that you're going to have to make, and that your instructor's going to want to make sure that you're in command of, is when to go around. There's no shame in doing it. You never have to land that airplane unless you're absolutely out of fuel and you can't go around. That's the only time you have to touch down. If you've got a working engine and working wings, pour the power to it, go around, and let's do it again. Too many pilots have found themselves in a situation where they feel like they have to get it on the ground that time. And that's never the case. Go around. So be sure that you know and understand where you need to be at specific points along your approach. And if you're not set up right, if you're too fast, too slow, too high, whatever the condition is, go around. Your instructor is really going to appreciate the fact that you recognize that that was the appropriate time to go around instead of waiting too late into the approach to do it. So when it comes time to your first solo, make sure you're in command of that aircraft, and don't forget that you're the one that's in charge, and make that airplane do what you want it to do. One of the ways you get ready for that decision is play the what-if game. When you're driving in your car, what are you going to do if somebody pulls out in front of you? Well, you already know you're going to slam on the brakes or you're going to swerve to get out of the way. It depends on what the situation is. Play that what-if game in your mind. What if you're too high, too fast on approach during your solo? Go around. Play what if. Throughout your entire aviation career, what if and what next are two of the most important questions that you can ask yourself. Utilize those tools to make sure that you know and understand that you've got important decisions to make coming up, and make sure you make the right decision in the right moment. What I want you to avoid doing is I don't want you to become overconfident. Cockiness can kill us in an airplane. Know your limits. Know and understand what you've been taught. Stay within those limits and always learn. Continuously learn and be a better pilot. Shreveport approach 604 November is inbound for downtown.
6048 November, Shreveport approach downtown, landing runway 14, wind 160 at 7, altimeter 29906, and say aircraft type.
That's a T210 slant golf for 6048 November.
And 48 November, squawk 0433.
0433, 48 November.
48 November, radar contact 15 miles north of Barksdale Air Force Base.
48 November, roger. I hope you find these tips helpful. I really just want to share some of the experiences that I've had as a pilot. Give you guys just maybe a little bit of a shortcut, maybe a little bit of an insight. I wish I had a mentor, someone that I could talk about these things with when I was coming up through the ranks. And I still enjoy talking to pilots with more experience than me and getting a better understanding of how to operate these aircraft and fly in the system. So never stop learning. Always make sure that we're proficient and always make sure we're competent pilots in the air. We're making our final descent into Shreveport downtown. You guys come along and let's see how I do on this landing. Downtown Tower, 604 November, 6 to the northeast inbound for landing.
Center 604 November, downtown tower, left base runway 14, the wind's variable 4.
All right, left base for 14, 40 November. Right now I've got 23 inches of manifold pressure, 2,400 RPM, cow flaps closed, my mixture set, and I'm about 122 knots. I'm basically on a 45 to enter the left base for runway 14. And there
Center 4 November, runway 14, clear to land.
Clear to land 14, 40 November. All right, we're clear to land, so we're going to go ahead and get that landing light on. We are on a left base to 14 at traffic pattern altitude. Letting the airplane settle on down at about 114, 115 knots. I'm going to pull a couple inches of manifold pressure out, maintain this altitude, and let that airspeed bleed down to about 100 knots. Not in a big hurry. Airplane's happy where it's at. I got my right hand down here. You can't really see it in the cameras, but my right hand is down here on the trim wheel. I'm giving it just a little bit of up trim. I've lost about 50 feet of altitude. I give it a little bit of up trim at 104 knots, so I'm going to trade airspeed for altitude. I'm going to go ahead and get that next notch of flaps. Pull that power out. I'm a little bit high, so I'm going to go ahead and get that last notch of flaps. And go ahead and turn final. I'm going to pitch for that airspeed of 90 knots. Looking good, right on 90 knots. Maybe a touch high, pull another inch or two of manifold pressure out. Line it up on that runway. Undershot it just a little bit. Thank you, Gladys.
1 mile final runway 14.
Thank you, Gladys. I'm on 90 knots. Pulling that power out, and I'm going to start transitioning to 80 knots. 94 knots, 93. Easing that power out. Props are going to go full forward. Seat belts, shoulder harnesses. Gas is on the fuller tank. Wheels are down and locked. And coming on 80 knots. Looking for 80. 82. 80 knots right there. That's going to bring us on home. Over the end of the runway, pull the power out. Let it settle right down to the runway. There we go. Didn't even feel the wheels touch. I hope you guys enjoyed the flight. I hope you didn't mind hearing a little bit of my backstory and me sharing what I think are some insights, some tips along the way. I appreciate you coming along. I love what we're doing here. I love the community we're building, and I appreciate you being my fellow aviators. Hey, don't forget, I've got lots of other videos. We've got instrument flying. We've got cross country, a lot of different things. So check out my other videos and find something in there that you get some more of these little nuggets from if you like this one. Appreciate you coming along. I look forward to seeing you on the next one.